The gods are merely our friends. The early Buddhist relationship with the gods is also very much unlike that in any religious tradition. Typically, a religion is built around the worship of one or more gods, and they almost always take the central and highest place in that religion. In early Buddhism, it is totally not the case. Instead, the gods are merely friends. In the volume of early Buddhist discourses called the Saṃyutta Nikāya, the first 2 chapters are devoted to the heavenly beings, the first one to the gods, and the second to Devaputas, literally god-sons, translated as young gods. In almost all the discourses, the only role the gods play is to ask Dharma-related questions to the Buddha and receive answers. They would usually appear at night and be described as a heavenly being of stunning beauty who would illuminate the area, and they would bow to the Buddha and then ask questions. One such conversation, for example. The god asks, "What is good by not decaying? What is good when made secure? What is the precious gem of humans? What cannot be stolen by thieves?" The Buddha answers,
"Virtue is good by not decaying. Faith is good when made secure. Wisdom is the precious gem of humans. Merit cannot be stolen by thieves."
That's right, not much different from any conversation the Buddha would have with a typical human being, except for some reason the conversations with the gods usually occur in verse. Maybe because all good poets go to heaven. After each conversation, the god would be satisfied, bow to the Buddha, and then disappear. There are a few exceptions to this pattern, but even in 100% of those cases, the gods play a subordinate role to the Buddha. For example, in one discourse, the young god, Chandima, was seized by a major demigod, Rahu. Chandima immediately took refuge in the Buddha, and Rahu decided there was nothing he could do except to release him. When Rahu was later asked why he had to release Chandima, he answered because he did not want his own head to be split into 7 parts. Yes, I thought it was funny too. Given this context, I was initially very surprised when reading the ancient discourses to come across one where the Buddha gave advice to recollect the gods, until I read the fine print. This discourse was given to Mahanama, the Shakyan, the Buddha's cousin and Anuruddha's brother. Mahanama did not become a monk. He did, however, attain stream entry, and he asked the Buddha what practice would support a stream enterer's further growth. The Buddha prescribed to him the 6 recollections, which are 1. Recollection of the Buddha, 2. Recollection of the Dharma, 3. Recollection of the Sangha, 4. Recollection of your own virtue, 5. Recollection of your generosity, 6. Recollection of the gods. For each recollection, the disciple gains wholesome joy and inspiration for deeper practice. That's not surprising to me, except the last one. I mean, what have the gods got to do with this? And then the Buddha explained. The disciple recollects thus. The gods had the good fortune to be reborn as gods because of their previous virtue, faith, generosity, and wisdom. And I too have those same good qualities. Thinking thus, the disciple gains wholesome joy and inspiration for deeper practice. So even here, the gods are not the object of worship, but inspiring equals. In the context of everything I know about early Buddhism, that makes perfect sense. There is another fascinating story that illustrates the Buddhists/gods relationship from the perspective of early Buddhism. This one involves Brahma, literally supreme, the highest of the gods. Our story begins with a monk with a profound question. This monk, while meditating, arrived at a question he could not answer. Where do the 4 great elements cease without remainder? Since the monk had attained psychic powers, he decided to go to the heavens to ask the gods. First, he went to the lowest heaven, the heaven of the 4 great kings, to ask the gods there. They did not know the answer, so they suggested that he ask the 4 great kings themselves. They are kings of those gods, surely they would know. Turns out they did not know. They suggested he go upstairs to the next level of heaven, the heaven of the 33 gods. So he did. He asked those gods, they did not know the answer, so he asked their king, Saka, and he did not know. So he suggested the monk go upstairs to the next higher heaven, and so on, and this went on all the way to the highest of heavens, the heaven of Brahma, the very seat of great Brahma himself. Once again, our friend went around asking those gods, and they did not know the answer, so they suggested that he ask great Brahma. The monk approached great Brahma respectfully and asked the question, "Friend, where do the four elements cease without remainder?" Great Brahma answered, "I am Brahma, the great Brahma, the undefeated, the champion, the universal seer, the wielder of power, the Lord God, the maker, the author, the best, the begetter, the controller, the father of those who have been born and those yet to be born." The monk said, "Friend, I did not ask if you are great Brahma. My question is, where do the four elements cease without remainder?" Great Brahma repeated, "I am Brahma, the great Brahma, the undefeated, the champion, etc., etc., the father of those who have been born and those yet to be born." For the third time, the monk asked, "Friend, I did not ask if you are great Brahma. What I asked is, where do the four elements cease without remainder?" This time, great Brahma did not answer. He grabbed the monk by the arm and took him to a quiet corner and said to him, "All these gods think I know everything, but how would I know where the four great elements cease without remainder? This is all your fault. You are a disciple of the Buddha. Go ask him yourself." And with that, the monk disappeared from that heaven and appeared in front of the Buddha. The Buddha made a gentle joke about his little adventure before giving him the answer in verse.
Consciousness unmanifest, boundless, all luminous. Here water and earth, fire and air find no footing. Here long and short, small and large, fair and foul, here name and form are without remainder destroyed. Here, with the cessation of consciousness, this is all destroyed.
Oh, and did you notice the main character in this story, a mere unnamed Buddhist monk, addressed great Brahma as friend, avuso, the same term monks used to address each other? Whether you take the story literally or not, it illuminates the early Buddhist attitude toward the gods, that when it comes to the most important and most profound subjects like nirvana, the gods do not necessarily know more than we do, and an enlightened human would know more about those topics than a typical god, up to and including great Brahma himself. And that is partly why, in early Buddhism, the total cumulative sum of worship of all gods is 0. Gods are just friends.